everyone! Today I want to talk about RV winter camping. Now, I know that there are some of you out there that are like, heck no, that is not me. I am not braving the cold. But for those of us who don't like RV winter camping, there are also those of us who do like it. And so for like myself, I grew up in Southern California my entire life, so experiencing the snow in a winter is something that I have always wanted to experience, and living in a trailer gives you that luxury of obviously being able to go wherever you want. So I spent a lot of time reading and asking, fellow RVers on Instagram and social media on how they go about camping in the winter, because there are plenty of people in the world who camp in the winter in their trailer. And so while there are lots of people who may not enjoy doing it, there are people who are out here doing it and who are doing it just fine. And so I'm actually right outside of Spokane, and there are, I might say, probably about 20 other campers at the RV park that I'm at, and there's actually snow everywhere. It snowed last night. And I was talking to a couple RVers yesterday, and they love it. They love camping in it. They love camping in the snow. It gets cold, so you definitely have to make sure that you have the right equipment, which is what I'm going to talk about today. So let's get to it. Besides staying warm for yourself and staying warm inside, I think most people know to bundle up layers, beanies, etc., thermals. They know to have multiple blankets. They know all those things. But preparing your RV for the winter is just as crucial in more so preventing frozen pipes and broken pipes. I want to talk about a couple of the things that I found to be incredibly resourceful when winter RV camping. First up is a heated water hose. I'm sure most of you probably have a heated RV water hose. I've seen lots of campers with them, so it's not like it is an unknown thing. But for those of you who are new to the RV world or simply new to RV camping in the winter, you have to make sure you have a heated RV hose. So the one that I have specifically, it lasts to temperatures up to -40. The coldest that I've stayed in that I got here is -3, which is cold, but not -40. So having a heated RV water hose is incredibly important. The link to the one that I specifically use will be in the description below, but as long as you have one that is heated and that will prevent water from freezing, you're fine. Next, not necessarily the prettiest topic, but you do need a heated sewer hose sleeve. FYI, I struggled at least putting on the hose, but others probably did it. But if you read the instructions, make sure to lay your hose out completely flat on top of the heated hose. Wrap it up a little bit easier, then connect it. I tried to do it differently and it was hard, but I still got it done. So avoid those little mistakes by just following the instructions, unlike myself. Now this is especially important because the last thing that you want freezing on you are the substances in your black and your gray water tanks. So fun little story, I actually took my best friend camping in the Grand Canyon in January, and for the most part, it was cold. It was like 30s and 40s, but we didn't have any water freezing except for the last night. It got down to about 20 degrees. And so my friend, she is new to RV camping, and so there are a few things that she didn't know. She didn't know that she had to fill up the toilet with water before using it. And so the next morning when I we're leaving and I'm disconnecting the hose, there's frozen, waste in there, and that's just simply not the most fun to have to deal with. So that was not the most fun, but also not necessarily like the worst thing in the world that you have to deal with. I still had running water, my water didn't freeze, so I was able to rinse out my sewer hose and everything. By the time we got to the next site, there was definitely some frozen residue, which just makes it a little messier. So I strongly recommend getting a heated sewer hose for when you are RV camping, because it will make your job 10 times easier. Another thing that I learned is, teach your own and do whatever you so please, but personally I have found that it is easiest when you put away your sewer hose and you know, clean up your tanks the night before you leave, because obviously temperatures drop at night, and so if you put all those things away when the temperatures are still, you know, up and warm, you do avoid a lot of issues by doing that. So that is just a little tip that I've learned that I've found to be quite helpful, just because usually I am going to, I like to stay, you know, full hookup to full hookup, or for that matter, you know, there's dump sites, you know, everywhere. So, but just a little tip in case that's something that you may want to do. It's helpful. Another very helpful item to have is a heat tape or a heat cord. You can find them at an Ace Hardware. That's where I got mine. But this is incredibly helpful in preventing frozen pipes, especially for your gray and your black water tanks. It's pretty simple to do yourself, and you'll take the heat tape and you'll wrap it around, you know, your pipes to prevent them from freezing and just to keep them a little bit more warm. And then what I found that some people did is that they also then took pipe insulation and then wrapped that over their heat tape just to help keep the warmth in there and everything. And so that's been super helpful for me. You know, drain your pipes before going to a colder temperature, so you don't have frozen pipes inside your trailer and then it takes a couple days for it to thaw and everything, and then you risk having a leak, so forth and so forth. Another really nice tip that I want to mention to prevent your pipes from freezing and making sure that they stay warm, I like to keep my cabinets open. And so sometimes it's a little hard to keep them open, but I'll usually put a towel where the knob is that closes it, and that helps get the heat inside and keep everything else warm. That is a very helpful tip that I have found. Another really helpful item to consider are RV tank heaters. And so this is something that you can pay someone to install them, but they're just a heated pad that you will pretty much stick on your freshwater tanks, your gray water tanks, and your black water tanks, just to prevent them from freezing. Very helpful, very important in preventing any damage done. If you are savvy with electrical wiring, you can do it all yourself, and you can wire the power source and everything and then connect it to where you have your light switch and or in your bathroom, wherever you know you find the most convenient. Or if you're just temporarily camping in the winter, you can always buy them that has the plug-in and simply run an extension cord and plug them in just for, you know, the remaining few days. But you know, if you are camping long term in the winter, I would strongly recommend getting it wired to your actual trailer and everything, just so you can avoid any mess or just any issue or anything like that. Another thing that I also want to mention are the RV skirts. Based off of the research that I've done, is that some people don't recommend them when you're only camping in the cold for a few days, but if you are living in your trailer long term, if you're going to be in the snow for weeks at a time, you should definitely consider a skirt around your trailer to help keep the floor warm, the pipes warm, and your tanks warm as well. It keeps all the heat trapped underneath. Airstream specifically, you can find air skirts, or you can also go with a DIY method. Another thing that obviously, you know, it's kind of a no-brainer, but make sure you have an electrical heater with you so you can save on some of your propane. I have both of them running honestly right now just because of how cold it is, and I also didn't want to trip any breakers or anything, but it's helpful to have them both. You don't have to run your propane as high if you also have an electrical heater running, but that's pretty much a no-brainer for a lot of people. Another thing that I do want to talk about that I saw in another lady's video that I will tag are moisture levels. So camping in the cold does increase, you know, moisture levels. So you can either get a dehumidifier to help bring down some moisture levels, but you really do have to make sure that you keep track underneath the bed. And you know, when I first got my trailer, the dealer informed me that some people don't aerate underneath their bed all the time, they don't check, and so, you know, water gets trapped and then you're sleeping there, so there's some heat generated there too, so it's a really, really good place for mold to grow. So, you know, I've had it happen to me a few times. Luckily I've been able to catch it to where I've had no issue, but you know, what I like to do is, you know, grab either a couple boxes or anything that I can use to elevate my bed, and then I'll just run a fan under it. It takes a couple, you know, an hour or so, a couple hours at max, and all your water levels are gone. But make sure you check on that. It is very important. Some people forget, and then there's mold, and then they don't know why they're experiencing some symptoms related to mold growth. So make sure you just keep that under wraps. Another thing that I like to keep handy are these moisture absorbers. I put them in the bathroom, put them all around. They will trap moisture. This is just an extra one that I have. If you don't want to buy a dehumidifier, if you don't camp often in the winter. I personally don't camp often in the winter, so I have these around my trailer to help trap any moisture. Another great tip is also insulating your windows. And so obviously you can tell I don't have them insulated right now because it is 1 o'clock, and I do like seeing the cold out there. I think it's pretty. If you can see, I do feel some coldness coming in. You can always put a blanket, towels, if you want to keep it cheap, or you can buy the, you know, the car reflector that keeps the heat trapped in. You can get those as well. You can cut them to size. I do have that, so you can tell I have some Velcro here, and so when it gets cold at night, I will Velcro them on at least, and that'll help insulate a lot. But with that said, it does make moisture stay inside your trailer, so just simply be aware of that. Now, as for yourself, a few things that I have found to be quite helpful. Slippers are number one. I have rugs on my floor to help, so I'm not walking on the bare, you know, the floor of my trailer, which does get cold in the winter. So the rugs do help, but obviously the rugs aren't 100%, you know, cold proof. So slippers are such a handy thing to have. Warm insulated wool socks, super helpful as well. If you're not allergic to wool, at least. Thermals are my absolute favorite to always wear, and probably my number one that I love having is an electric blanket. At night it allows me to lower the temperatures of my electric fan and the propane heater so that I stay warm inside. So that's pretty much everything that I want to mention. If I left anything out, if any of the information that I've said is confusing, misleading, or just simply wrong, because people do make mistakes, please leave a comment below so that other people watching this video can get as much information as possible. I spend a lot of time trying to figure out the ins and outs and the importance, the must-haves, the things that you might be able to get away with, and these are all the things that I have found to make my RV winter camping the most enjoyable. You can check out an article that I wrote on my blog that is also in the link below, but for the most part, you know, Airstreams are not designed as 4-season trailers. You know, they're mainly for the spring, summer, fall. So it's not that you can't camp in the winter in an Airstream, it's just that you do have to take extra precautions. You know, for a while I was discouraged in winter camping because I had an Airstream, and you know, you can't do that. Like, you'll be way too cold. It's literally aluminum. Like, you touch the walls and they're cold, and they are, but there are so many precautions that you can take, and especially, you know, if you're an RVer who wants to experience different seasons, it's so much fun, and you really shouldn't let those things discourage you. Just do your research, ask people questions. I've asked so many people so many questions on social media, at my campsites, you know, and some people are like, you're crazy for going to the snow. I am, but this is what I wanted to do, and at the end of the day, the haters can hate. It doesn't matter as long as you're doing what you love to do and it makes you happy. That's all that matters. All this information that I found, some people recommend it, other people don't. At the end of the day, it's what suits your needs best. So there will be people who do not agree with some of the things that I have said, and then there will be people who do agree with some of the things that I have said. So at the end of the day, you need to gauge what you're doing and your preference, your budget, what you can do, what you can manage. But for the most part, don't let a winter stop you from experiencing some of the fun that a lot of places have to offer, like skiing, snowboarding, snowshoeing, snow tubing. There's so many fun activities that you can do in the winter, and if those are of interest to you and you definitely want to do it in your RV, you shouldn't let the winter stop you. So I hope it doesn't. With that said, I hope you enjoyed today's video, but be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.